Hello, beautiful Art and Talk community, and thank you so much for inviting me to share one of my poems and give a little talk about the meaning behind it. My name is Kim Conway, and I'm a psychic medium, an intuitive soul coach, and also a psychotherapist. And I've been doing this type of writing for a few years. It's intuitive channeled writing. And what that means is I use my psychic mediumship abilities to connect to my spirit guides and my soul and just write whatever is given to me. The information flows very quickly. I write as fast as I can. It comes out in poetic verse and also writing. So today I'm going to share a poem that was given to me and probably took only a couple of minutes for that poem to be written. I write as quickly as I can, and I never edit anything because I feel like it's being really divinely given. It's not really mine. I'm just making it possible. So I always leave it just as it's given. I have just started doing some talks where I share my writing and give a little talk and explanation. It's on a YouTube channel. If anyone's interested, I can just put that link in the comments. It's Soul Inspirations by Kim. So let's get started. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to begin by sharing this intuitive poem with you. And this poem is actually about surviving different struggles in our lives, traumatic experiences, trauma. Sometimes it all feels so rough. But the truth is, when times are tough, you were preparing to bloom. And the difficulties are making room for new and vast possibilities in the way you walk through life and all you see. For it is within all of your strife that your soul does shift you in the ways you desire. Think of it as the igniting of a fire. The fire cannot burn without the strike of a match, and without the warmth the fire does create. You would shiver cold, feeling weary and old. So next time your heart feels heavy, think of the importance of the match and know your own warm fire awaits you, created by your soul. Yes, this is true. For inside of all life's burdens sits a treasure chest filled with growth. And this, my dear ones, is worth more than any pot of gold. And with these words, we do lead you into a discussion of trauma truth. So, what do you think about that? I feel there's an overall message here about how we can use the difficulties in our lives, the things we struggle with, the traumatic events, as opportunities to grow and evolve, to grow on the soul level, to grow on the personal level. And isn't that actually a beautiful thought? Because we've already survived whatever has occurred. And sometimes it's just occurring many times our whole life through. But each time we survive it, we're still here, right? So we weren't able to stop it. But now we're on the other side of it, and we're left with all these uncomfortable feelings. We're left with so much, sometimes a lot of stress, anxiety, a feeling of hopelessness, depending what has happened, right? But what if we took it and we used it to grow as people, to become more resilient, to discover our resiliency that I believe is innate in every one of us, actually. It's just about finding it. So to connect to that part of ours, to connect to our power, our strength, to connect to wisdom, to develop a deeper understanding of what's going on with us. I think that's a beautiful thought, because we can't really go back and stop whatever has occurred, right? We don't get those redos. We can only go forward. We can't go backwards in time and in our lives and in our journey. But instead of it only being something that causes us so much distress, it can become something that causes us to be more powerful, to understand our resiliency, to maybe grow and change our own behavior, become something new. So how do we translate that, into our everyday lives and things that have occurred, right? Because there's so many different examples of struggles and traumatic incidences. And I think it's really interesting that in this poem, it's about using that to connect to your soul, allowing yourself to experience your soul and that beautiful, true essence of you, the power that is you, the power that is you, your own wisdom, your own philosophy. So let's just think about an example where maybe you're repeatedly having something occur in your life. Maybe you're noticing you keep creating these same types of relationships that end up not feeling so good to you. Or maybe you're noticing that you keep getting yourselves in the same kind of position in life, and you react kind of similarly all the way through. So if I look on my own life, I can see many examples of that, right? So I'm going to just take one to kind of explain it to you today, what I mean. And that is, we all have repetitive aspects of our behavior and our reactions to things that we do over and over and over again. And I believe that these things occur, this repetition, because we haven't grown in the way that our soul is trying to edge us and urge us to grow. So when we don't grow, our soul places in our path something else to help us grow in that same way. So that's why we notice these things kind of coming up again and again. They might be a little slightly different, but they cause the same reaction in us, right? So for me, if I look at myself, the one thing I've noticed, if I look way back into my childhood even, is I was super comfortable, and still am, flying under the radar and not using my voice. And throughout my life, there's been so many times something has occurred where instead of using my voice to maybe alter the situation or feel better about it, feel better about how I handled it, how it occurred, the end result, maybe change the end result. Instead of using my voice, I've always been quiet, silent, sometimes even frozen. And for a greater part of my life, I would kind of look at those situations and say, why does this keep happening to me? Why are people still doing this? Why are people that way? Right? So I was looking outside of me in hopes somehow magically people would just stop doing that, whatever it was, right? Saying something that upset me, or me being in a situation with someone that felt aggressive, let's say. So I always looked on the outside. So what would I do? I would leave the situation. Maybe I would end a friendship. Maybe I would change where I was to avoid it in hopes that magically it was all going to stop. So I'm going to give you an example of one of those times. And it was way, way back many years ago when I was in social work graduate school. Like I was like 22 years old. So like 35 years ago. Anyway, so I was in social work graduate school. And in one of the semesters, the first day of class, the professor was going around the room and she was asking us to say what our ethnic background was. I have no idea why, but this is what she was doing. So when she got to me, and I'm a mutt, I have a lot of things in my background, but I have like 3 main things. So I just said those things. And I said, I'm Italian, I'm Armenian, and I'm English. And she freaked out. She started screaming at me. And this is a direct quote. She said, how unfortunate for you that you are in my class and you are Armenian, because I hate Armenians. And she was screaming this really aggressively. And she went on and on about her hate for Armenians. Now, this is back in the day. There was nobody with a cell phone to record her, because I'll bet if it happened today, she would have gotten recorded. And so there was no like record of it, right? So what did I do? I would like to tell you that I stopped her in her tracks. I stood up for myself. I told her how hateful and wrong it was, especially in a social work program where we are being taught to care for others, called her out in her prejudice and walked out of the class, right? I wish I'd made a big scene, but I didn't, because I didn't know how to use my voice. And I did the same thing I had learned to do in my life, even by 22 years old. And I just froze and I shrunk and I was silent. And I was just silent. And I can't even tell you if I actually left the class or if I stayed till the end of the class that day, because I don't remember. That's how badly I froze. And of course, I was left with this feeling of guilt in myself, like such judgment of myself and how I had behaved with no behavior, basically, that I just let her do that to me. So in my own little way, I tried to fight back. I dropped the class and I went to the dean. I let the dean know what happened. And the dean was very clear that he wasn't going to do anything about it. He just defended her. And I did nothing more. Now, at this point in my life, I would like to say to you, I would do so much more. And I actually know that I would. But it wouldn't be easy for me because using my voice is hard. So this is an example of something that can kind of help you look at yourself and see, where am I always the same? And I'm sort of not liking that I'm the same. Where do I want to change? And why does it keep happening? So as I move forward in my life, I really was uncomfortable with this part of myself. And as I became a mom of 3 daughters, I didn't want my daughters to grow up thinking they couldn't use their voice. I wanted my daughters, and still do, to understand their power and their worth and use their voice and always stand strong. So my love for them ignited my desire to change this about myself. I'm still a work in progress. I'm still not so good at it, but I'm paying attention now. And that's what I want to say to you. Just even paying attention is growth. Just even recognizing, oh, this is something that I do too in my situations. What are you doing? What can you change about yourself? And more importantly, if you changed it, how would you feel about yourself? Would you stop judging yourself? Would you look at yourself through kinder eyes? I'll bet you would. I know I would if I always spoke up every single time. Maybe just in my way, maybe a gentle way. I'm not really sure. But if I always did, then I wouldn't judge myself later. Like, why didn't you do that? Why didn't you say that? And it is sort of ironic, isn't it, that I've been placed in this position by Spirit to start talking and giving little talks, because I would really still like to fly under the radar. And my issue is using my voice, right? So I really want to stress with you that when things keep happening, I look at it as a gift from my soul. Maybe you can look at it that way too. That your soul is not giving up on you. That your soul loves you so much that it says, yes, you can grow in this way. Yes, I'm going to make it possible for you. We're going to keep going around this merry-go-round until you learn how to get off. And as soon as I see you trying to get off, I'm going to help you. That's the beauty in all of it. That you have that part of yourself that believes so strongly in you. So strongly that even the recognition will ignite your soul and the work will start and things will change for you. I know they will. I know that you can, because each and every one of you has that beautiful part inside of yourself, right? We don't just have this ego self that just complicates everything, makes us feel badly, judges ourselves, judges others. We all do that, don't we? Right? And how do you step on this path of taking those difficult situations and turning them into growth? How do we do it? What's the first step in doing that? And what I have really discovered is I use my soul. You knew I was going to say that. But I change my perspective. I change my perception of what's going on. And the way I do that is I don't look through my ego eyes, my very human eyes. I shift and I look through the eyes of my heart and my soul. And as soon as I shift and do that, the whole situation looks differently to me. It's like I took off a film that was covering it and things become a little clearer. So in relation to me using my voice, I no longer look at myself and judge myself for not using my voice. I take away all that pain and that judgment and the horrible effects that it causes. And I feel like someone else has judged me, and that feels crappy too, doesn't it? When other people judge you, I look at them through the eyes of my heart and my soul. And all of a sudden, their judgment doesn't touch me. It feels different. So doing that in any situation that you struggle with, any traumatic event, any repetitive behavior, if you can shift and look at it through those eyes, your heart and your soul eyes, I know you will begin to feel better. And you will even be given golden nuggets of wisdom and information on what to do about the situation. Because your soul always wants you to feel better. Your ego mind is not really attached to that. It really likes chaos and disruption. That's its job. That's its job, is to challenge us in that way and to silence the soul. But the soul is strong and we can connect to it and use it That is my overall passion right now in my work, is for you to understand you have this beautiful soul and you can look at things through the eyes of your heart and your soul, for healing, for perspective, for perception, and to even get ourselves to stop doing some of these things that are harmful, like putting ourselves in the same position and reacting in the same way. So like changing how we react, even if it's just like these little tiny things. You feel like, ooh, I did something good here, right? You need those wins for yourself so that you can feel better about yourself. Because that's also my passion, is that you feel better about yourself and that you really understand who you are and that you change that definition on a soul level, on a soul level. Now, does that mean that every moment of the day we're sitting there looking through the eyes of our heart and our soul? Well, I know I don't. I would like to tell you that I do, but 100% I don't. I don't. But it's my intention. I'm working on it. I'm a huge work in progress. My poor soul and guides, they have their work cut out for them. And I know each one of us is a huge work in progress. Nobody is different that way. Nobody's figured it all out. That's why we're here, right? If we figured it all out, we'd already be spirit guides for other people, but we haven't gotten there yet. So just keep trying. Just keep trying. And try when you're in a difficult situation, try to remind yourself to shift into the eyes of your heart and your soul. And just see, play with it a little bit and see how it changes things for you. Because we can't change how other people are towards us, unfortunately, right? We can't change that. So in that situation in the classroom with that professor, I couldn't change her, but I could have stopped her. I could have stopped her. I do believe I could have stopped her. But I didn't, because I didn't use my voice, right? But so we can't change anything outside of us. And I do feel so much of the time we look outside to change ourselves. It's the opposite direction. And that's what this poem is speaking about. Going within to change yourself and to grow. So whatever situation you're in, you can use it for learning. We can use it for learning, you know? And as you start looking through the eyes of your heart and soul, even if you only do it one time a week for a few seconds, even the smallest amount, it starts shifting how you look at others, and it starts shifting your behavior too, right? So, because I think as humans, we do unintentional hurtful things all the time, like something like judgment, right? It's so easy to go there and look at a situation and be like, I wouldn't do it that way. Really? Is that really true? Would we be better? Would we know a better way? Instead of judging it, just be that better way. Just be that better way. Because I really do believe that in each part of our lives, most people try to do the best that they can. So even if I take the example of my voice, even my speaking, I'm a work in progress, right? I'm just doing the best that I can. And it's really up to me what I say. It's up to my soul, my guides, and me, and how I say it and how I deliver it. And they're working on me, right? It's like a sculptor trying to sculpt out the creation that they see within that piece of stone. They already see it there, right? And I feel like that's what our soul and guides are doing for us. They see what we can be and what we are. And they put us in situations so the sculpting can occur. So it can occur. So just like the sculptor, if his tool gets dull, he's got to get a new tool. So just like with us, if we keep doing the same thing, our soul and spirit guides give us another time where we can work on that, another situation, right? And each one of us, in every situation in our lives, we are a little different, aren't we? Right? If you are a parent, how would your kids describe you? I bet they would describe you differently than a friend of yours would describe you. You show a different part of yourselves, don't you? We all do this. If you have a spouse, what you show your spouse might be different than what you show a stranger. What you show your parents, how your parents would describe you might be different than how your children describe you, right? How your coworkers describe you might be very different than how a close personal friend would describe you. We show different aspects of ourselves everywhere we go. And judgment doesn't take an account for that. It doesn't. So that's just a little thought to keep with yourselves as you judge yourselves and you're hard on yourselves. We are a little different. And maybe that's just another way for us to learn that we get to be a little different in all our different relationships, even in our work. We get to connect to a whole other part of ourselves. And isn't that just lovely, actually? Isn't that just lovely that we have all these opportunities to express who we are? That's a beautiful gift in this human life. So as I get to the end of this poem, and it says, and with these words, we do lead you to a discussion of trauma truth. It's not really an ending, is it? I actually ended it with ... because I must have been being told it's not the ending, right? We're leading into a discussion. So perhaps there's just one thing I said to you today that resonated with you. Just take that one thing. If nothing resonated, throw it away. Just maybe have that discussion within yourself. What does it mean to you to survive something difficult? How do you want to use it? Do you want to use it to continue to struggle? But actually you don't want to continue to struggle. Or do you want to find ways to use it to become more, to expand, to be with your soul, to understand the truth of yourself, the beautiful, beautiful, magnificent truth of yourself? And that's how I want to end with you today. Just with the idea of thinking about it and thinking about what the truth is for you, because that is ultimately the most important truth, not what anybody else says, not what I say, not what my poem says, what you believe, what you believe. Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself and always look within to understand things. And I'll just leave you with these words. Your soul's love flows eternal. Peace to you all.